This is Butterworth's Insolvency Law Handbook, and my name is Susan Bentley. In its very simplest terms, it's where a person, so an individual or a company, doesn't have enough money to pay its debts. What this book does is it brings together all the legislation, so that might be acts, so statutes, statutory instruments, European legislation. It brings it all together into one place and it consolidates it. And when I say consolidate, what I mean is that every single year there are changes to legislation and it brings all the changes together. So imagine something was no longer in force. That means that it was no longer actual real law. We would show that it's not in effect anymore, so it doesn't matter anymore. Or if there were changes, so let's say just a couple of words changed somewhere, we bring those changes together. So basically we take the pain out of the law and we show it as it is in force. So that means we show it how it needs to be when you're practicing the law. It covers everything and anything to do with insolvency. So it could be the law. It's to do with the law of England, Wales, and actually unusually Scotland as well, because some of our other statutory handbooks don't cover Scotland. And in addition to that, it also covers the EU. Solicitors and barristers specialising in insolvency. It would be solicitors and barristers who deal with company and commercial law. And the reason why it affects them is because obviously companies can go insolvent, can't they? In addition to that, we have accountants and we have tax advisors. Again, similarly, because you have individuals who might go insolvent, or we might have companies who go insolvent. And then finally, we have the largest group would be insolvency practitioners. Well, these are professionals who actually specialise in dealing with insolvency and taking people, so individuals and companies, through the insolvency process. They might be both. So yeah, so some could be the background could be in law, others in accountancy, and then sometimes you get, there might be neither actually. It is to do with trust and convenience, and also saving time, because this title, so it's under the Butterworth brand, which is a very well known and recognised and trusted brand. But the core thing that the book does is not only is it so very comprehensive, so it covers everything to do with insolvency legislation, but it's the fact that it consolidates it. So like all those changes that are made year on year, it just compacts them down together into one hand portable volume. It means that if you work in insolvency, the law is an important part of it, and this is a handy desktop resource. So if you need to check what the law says somewhere, you just simply turn to the page you need and job done. If you're in a meeting, you can take it with you. Your client's asking you a question, you can answer your client, or you can go to court with this as well. The legislation is such a core part of
anything you do.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not a nice to have. If you're going to work in that area, it's a need to have. So if you, let's say, specialise in, even if you specialise in family law, you might need to know a little bit about insolvency if one of the people in that family is then insolvent. So it's sort of like a thing that relates to everything. Definitely, because at the moment, obviously, there's a lot of financial pressure on businesses and individuals as well, and inevitably there are casualties of that, and more people are going insolvent, or more businesses are in financial trouble. So it is effectively a growth area, really. Yeah, so the book contains the book covers both personal and company insolvency. So year on year there are changes to legislation, but the one most important change this year is that there is a new insolvency practice direction. The thing that's important about the insolvency practice direction, now first of all, this doesn't happen every year. There hasn't been a new insolvency practice direction for over 10 years. So this, it's quite a big change. And what it does is it spells out very specifically what processes people have to go through in practice. So let's say there are a lot of forms that have to be filled and submitted to a court if you're going through the insolvency process. And what the practice direction does is it says this is how you have to lay out the form. And if you don't do it in a particular way, then the court might not accept it, or actually probably won't accept it. Yeah, no, it's a big thing. It's like a really big thing to do with, because even though the actual practice direction itself isn't particularly big, but these are core changes that you need to know about. Now, there is no direct competitor, but the nearest indirect competitor is a book called Celia Millman's Annotated Guide to Insolvency Legislation. Now, that is published by one of our competitors, Sweet & Maxwell. It publishes every year, the same as our book, and it also publishes at the same time as our book. It is thought of, it does have a good reputation, and it is well known in the industry. But one difference is that it comes in 2 volumes. So in terms of it being portable, it doesn't really win. So imagine trying to lug around 2 volumes in your briefcase. It would be very helpful. And 2, it's very expensive as well compared to our book. So it's for the 2 volumes, it's over £200. Also, our book is edited by people from 3 to 4 South Square. Now, 3 to 4 South Square are one of the absolute best insolvency chambers. So basically, there's a lot of kudos attached through their association. What happens with the free internet versions is that they aren't consolidated. So I mentioned this before about consolidation. So what you find is that let's say you have an act. So this is like a massive piece of legislation, and then you have a statutory instrument, which is like a small supporting piece of legislation. But the statutory instrument changes the act. What you'll get on the government website is you'll get the act and you'll get the statutory instrument, but you won't get them kind of merged together. So you won't know what the statutory instrument does to the act. Whereas in this book, we've done the hard work for you. It is completely up to date with insolvency legislation. It's consolidated and it is edited by 3 to 4 South Square. I think it's extremely good value for money. If you see, see the size of it. There's a lot of content in there. It's £114. It's significantly cheaper than the nearest competition, and given the fact that it gives peace of mind and for an entire year, and given the people who are involved in it, so 3 to 4 South Square. And it's something that's relied upon and known and trusted and used widely by the industry. If you look at it like that, it's an absolute bargain.